First Sergeant Johnson, there's so much to say about your leadership, about your humanity, just about the person that you are. I understand that you retired from the military as Command Sergeant Major Johnson. I will always know you as First Sergeant Johnson. I can't seem to bring myself to calling you Chris or Chris Johnson. It's just, for me, it's First Sergeant Johnson. And that's how I prefer to refer you. That's how, probably if I ever see you, I'm going to say, hey, what's up, First Sergeant? Just probably out of respect because, I have so much respect for you and so much respect that this is how I come full circle to this video, which doesn't surprise me. So most recently, I reached out to First Sergeant Johnson for his approval, for his permission to mention his name in my book, Within the Paradox, that just came out this November. And I needed his approval because I needed to thank him for his leadership, for what he did for me in the military. And even though he might have forgot completely, and I'm pretty sure he did, for me, it was such an important point in my life because it was the first time that someone had acknowledged me as a leader. When I first arrived to his company, I probably gave 3.5 steps. And as soon as I walked in and I was, making a left turn to check in on my first day, the first thing I hear is like, "Who is that? Come here." I almost felt like I was in a game of Mortal Kombat where it's like, "Finish him." And so as soon as I heard that voice, I knew, okay, that can only be one voice, and that's probably the First Sergeant. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he looks like. I don't know his name. I just know the voice. It's commanding. So, I do an about face and I start walking towards you and you stand up and you meet me halfway. You didn't make me walk to your desk. You actually stood up and met me halfway, which speaks to the person that you are. It speaks to, you don't just carry the rank. You got up whether you did it on purpose or not, as a sign of respect, as a sign of just of a true leader, where you meet your subordinates even at eye level as well, which I found very interesting, even now talking about it with you. And so as soon as I walk to you, I snap a parade rest, and you're just looking at me. You're looking at my beret. You're looking at my super starched uniform, my super shiny boots. And the first thing you say is, you pat me on my combat on my combat patch, and you said, "Why aren't you an NCO yet?" You see the 82nd Airborne combat patch on my shoulder. And you see the CIB, I don't know if I remember if I had CIB or EIB, Airborne. And I said, "I don't know, First Sergeant." And you knew, and this is what I mean by, leaders can see when something just doesn't mesh, when something just doesn't fit. And here's a specialist who shows up at your doorstep with highly polished boots, super starched uniform, beret, shaved, ready to go. Absolutely nothing wrong. You scan me, probably trying to find something fucked up with me. You couldn't find anything. And so you come out and you say, "Why aren't you an NCO yet? You look like this, but you're not, the rank yet. What the fuck is wrong with this picture?" And so you ask me if I'm ready, and I say, "Roger that, First Sergeant." And within 3 to 6 months, I was an NCO. For me, that's just, it's I've been in leadership positions now in the civilian world, variety of different leadership positions. And from where you lead is by giving first the opportunity for people to display their leadership. And you didn't belittle people, you didn't question people, you didn't put them down. You raised them immediately, and then you took them to a standard. You took them to a place where they had to step up to the plate and be there. And that's what you did with me, And that's the reason why I mentioned you in my book, because that moment right there played such an important point in my life. My life pivoted in that moment, and you made it happen because you realized that there was something wrong with this picture, and I'm gonna do something about it. You also asked me, where are you from? I think I remember saying California, and then he says, no, what city are you from? I said, Inglewood, First Sergeant. And you look at me like, I see. I understand who you are. But that's who First Sergeant Johnson is. And, and through my 3.5 years with the Bandidos, I try to stay away from First Sergeant Johnson's radar as much as possible, from the company commander's office. That was my MO through my whole military career. The least contact I have with the First Sergeant and the company commander, I'm cool, I'm safe. And that's exactly what I did. And I think that's something that maybe helped me, but I wish that I would have probably had a more established relationship with everybody. But that's just what my MO was back then, and probably still is. When I reached out to First Sergeant Johnson, he first said, "What's up, fam?" He treats everybody like family. We're not in the Bandito company anymore. We're not at Fort Riley anymore. But yet, he still keeps everybody in a tight circle and calls everybody family. And he's there. If you need something, he's there. And, that is such a beautiful quality from an individual to care, even after that. And it's one that I need to, that I wish that I had from him, because he's just a very caring individual. No matter who you are, I think he's just always there for you. Last, I simply also want to say, it was so refreshing to see everybody's comments about First Sergeant Johnson there, and just to see everybody's faces. It was really nice to see, everybody in their own lives. But again, it doesn't surprise me that that everybody came on board and commented about First Sergeant Johnson's qualities, because that's just who he is, and not who he was. It's still who he is today. He still carries himself as a caring individual, as a First Sergeant, and I am privileged to say that I work with this dude, and he left a lot of those good qualities in me, and I'm just really happy that I got to experience his leadership for those 3 years with him. So other than that, just thank you, all of you guys, for the kind comments for First Sergeant Johnson. Folgers, good fucking idea. And First Sergeant Johnson, thank you for the leadership, for being a mentor to me and to anyone who ever served under your command.